The Christian right, once Trump's ride or die, is in for a big surprise. The ex president's recent abortion ban critique has them fuming. It's sort of like a pop star breaking up with their fan club. In a time where the Bible Belt is losing appeal, Donald has been a trendsetter, and he seems to be writing a new script. The Republican Party, once synonymous with pro life, is trying to sneak out of the abortion limelight. And Trump's departure might actually be the overture to a Republican movement away from the divisive abortion debate. Buckle up, America. The post Christian right is here. And Trump's first on this non religious roller coaster, but he most likely won't be the last. So, welcome to politics in the age of biblical uncertainty, where the only commandment is to preserve your party's political power. This story is from Yahoo Finance by Louise Perry, published on November 20th, 2023. And Infidel, I know you really like this story, so I'm going to pass to you first.
Thanks, Kelly. And I have to say that one thing I really enjoy in seeing this is that it does give me hope for the future because for over 40 years, their mantra has been vote for us and we'll ban abortions. They riled up people with lies about abortion, like they're going to happen right up to the moment of birth. And, some even like Mike Johnson saying after birth, whatever that would mean. But, they've used this fear mongering to collect votes and it's really worked for them. But here they are, they've got what they want. And we see it time and again, they get what they want and then realize they really just stepped into a steaming pile of shit. They backed this populist fool because he did what they never wanted. But, with the news filled with people experiencing the consequences of their wrongheadedness, people's lives literally being put at risk with doctors, being afraid to do what's medically necessary because they're afraid of going to jail. We hear about 12-year-olds being forced to carry pregnancies to term. And that concerns people. Now we have a 13-year-old with a child that was already living in poverty. But, these people aren't statistics and they're not news stories that go away with the new distraction that catches the public eye. They're not poster children for a cause. They're the result of laws that really have more to do about well-being and control. Now what we're seeing is that a driving force on the other side in places like Ohio, normally good red territory voting to protect a woman's right to her own body. In Kentucky and Virginia, we're seeing those same things. And as much as it hurts me to say this, I do think Trump is right. The GOP does need to get off this train. I saw one of the strategists say that the Republicans need to figure out a way to talk about abortion that can win independent voters in the center. This isn't going to go away because they found pleasing words to say. But their problem, once again, is they backed a bad idea and now it's exploded in their laps. Now, people are more worried about consequences of this extremism, even in the red states like Kentucky. We're seeing them and they're trying to get themselves out of it. And I know that the extremists and the GOP are playing right into the hands of more progressive voters. The louder they get, the more motivated I'm seeing progressives, become going to the other way. But what sounded good to them is terrible in reality. And while bittersweet, we have to consider and the human cost to all this foolishness. I am hopeful that we're going to see some fundamental change in the Christian right getting defanged on this issue entirely. It's working completely against them. And I'm hopeful to see where that goes. Now, Scott, what were you thinking about this?
Yeah, there is change happening. For one thing, in this past, in the 2022 election, I mean, bodily rights was a wedge issue, basically. And so we have a Supreme Court that struck down guaranteed bodily rights for people that can become pregnant, and the people didn't like it. And it got them motivated to go to the voting booth. From some Associated Press VoteCast results from that 2022 election, they found that about 4 in 10, or 38% of voters, said that the Supreme Court decision ending the constitutional right to an abortion had a major impact on their decision about whether or not to vote. It motivated them to go and vote. And you know, the share citing that decision as a major motivator was highest among Black women under 50, Hispanic women under 50, those who voted for Democratic congressional candidates, first-time voters. So this was used as a get out the vote kind of event. Voters under the age of 30, and those that they said that they were angry about that abortion decision. So we can see that this is an issue that's going to happen. It's going to change our, you know, the path of this country. And so while those election results reflect what the voters think about themselves, the analysis suggests that the abortion issue worked to counteract voters' the economics concern, right? That's spit the word out, Scott, spit it out. Economic concerns. And so it was able to overcome. Traditionally, the midterm election kind of slides against whoever the current president is. And so in this case, it was a landslide in the other direction. CE, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's inspiring. I think the GOP is really screwed up here. They made a Faustian deal and sold the soul of their party to the devil in the form of Trump, and they're now paying the price. But there's two halves of this story. There's the half about their reaction to Roe, but there's another stat in there that I found very interesting that said the best predictor right now of voting behaviors is not religion, but age. That the line was young Republicans are less religious than old Democrats. And that's what I really keyed in on. Because it really gives me hope for the next generation. I credit them. I credit their use of the internet and social media as a big factor in the decline of popularity of religion in the United States and around the world. When the internet first came out, I thought, oh, great, everyone will have access to the best info and we can stop passing around myths and urban legends and it will be the age of enlightenment. And I could not have been more wrong. In hindsight, I can see that I was assuming that everyone would be interested in correcting their own misunderstandings. But what actually happened is everybody ran to the corners of the internet to find information that validated their own previously held beliefs. But this next generation is, I think, one of the first ones that I've seen, and I've got a son who's graduating high school now, that's been raised constantly being told in school, taking classes on critical thinking and understanding where claims can be wrong on the internet. And they've got better bullshit detectors, I think, than we did or our parents did. Our parents didn't stand a chance against the power of the algorithm, right? That's why you get all these emails from grandma and grandpa about, you know, the stolen election and Hunter Biden and all of that stuff. But I hate to sound like this, but the young kids today are not.
All right,
you
open that door. Let's investigate here.
Same kids today.
The kids today.
Get off my lawn.
I'm reminded of when the Soviet Union fell and the average citizen had never been exposed to advertising claims before, and they got their clocks cleaned. People like Putin and all of the oligarchs made so much money off the backs of these people who were just suckers waiting to give their money to whoever made them feel the best or lie to them the most. And that's what it was like when our parents, I think, got online. These kids saw that happen and they are much more savvy. So when they read about Trump, when they read about abortion, when they read about climate change and how the GOP is doing nothing about that, when they read about the GOP pushing to put prayer in school and all this stuff instead of solving their real problems, I think that's really causing them to leave the church. But I wouldn't get complacent. As religious groups get smaller, only the most fanatical people remain. That's why when you get cults, you know, they get this us against them attitude and they can strike out. And that's why the FBI has said, hey, Christian nationalism is now a bigger threat to America's safety than any foreign terror organization. So we've got to remain vigilant. Religion may be a dying animal, but dying animals can be prone to lash out. So
right.
What are your thoughts, Kelley?
Well, my first thought is this episode sucks for me because I got to keep following you. That's my first thought. But I
just ramble all over the place. I was talking about
Russia. You're so great. You make such great points. It's awesome. And first off, I wanted to do the actual Trump quote because we didn't hear it yet. It was,
Okay.
I would sit down with both sides and I'd negotiate something and we'll end up with peace on that issue for the first time in 52 years, is what he actually said. Now, he didn't actually say that he was going to make any concessions to the pro-choice crowd at all. He just said he was going to sit down with both sides and try to negotiate. So I don't even understand why some people have even gotten up in arms about it, you know. However, I think the last line that I did in the intro was kind of said it all. The only commandment to the party right now is what preserves their political power, and they will do anything they can to stay relevant. I know a lot. They used the abortion issue as a wedge issue for decades. I know people that's the only reason they voted Republican was because they were uh, pro not choice, anti-freedom. They were, that's the way I always thought of as they were anti. I didn't want to say it, but anti-freedom. They didn't care about anything else the GOP wanted to do. So they were getting a lot of votes on this issue. But I always thought that if they passed this, there would be a lot of young people, as Scott mentioned. There'd be a lot of women who were voting for Republicans who would have a second view of it when that right was taken away from them. Even though they might not say it in public, they still wanted to have that right. So I'm not really surprised that this is happening. I kind of expected it to happen at some point. I didn't think Trump would be the one to make that move, though. So that was kind of interesting to me. Again, I could be totally verbose here, and I don't want to take up all the time. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Infidel, and I've got more to say when it comes back to me.
Same.
You know, it's interesting when you think about the fact that the one thing you have to say about Trump is he does hear and know sometimes when it's a losing bet, and he will dump it because he has no ideological attachment to anything. So
He's
to
a good
him,
populist.
it's just a matter of, okay, we're going this way. Okay, let's go this way, because it is a losing bet. They really have shit the bed. The dog has caught the car. They never wanted this. They wanted to scream about it. And it also goes right into what you said, Cross Examiner, about as a group gets smaller, the voices get more shrill. And that's part of what we're seeing with this group that has such a visceral reaction to him saying, I'll sit down with both sides. Because the truth is that in politics, sitting down with both sides should be the default position. That shouldn't be a goal to aspire to. That should be the absolute minimum. Look, we can sit down and talk, have a beer, drink some coffee, do whatever, disagree. But we're at a point now where if you look over at the other group, oh, well, what are you doing? What are you?
You'll lose your spot as the speaker.
Are you cheating on me? Well, what's going on? Do you like her better than me? Is it him? Is that what it is? And that really is the type of behavior that we're seeing here. Because I think that the truth is that most people on that side want to say, let's just shut up. Let's try to let this issue die, and let's focus on the new issue. Let's pick another issue we can divide people and sell people and not succeed on, because we don't really need to succeed. We just need to get people worked up. And that's what we've seen time and again. And that's what we're seeing here. People go, what? What do you mean we're not doing abortion anymore? We're moving on to something new, because as I believe
keep up,
Scott
people,
said,
keep up.
Yes, there are
I don't
people
like
that
this new stuff from this band. I like their classics.
Exactly, because they get up and I vote for against abortion. That's why I go to the polls. I don't go for all this other things. Now, the truth is, a lot of them, they could easily go with the next cell. But we'll have to see about that. I hope that this issue stays in the forefront, because the longer it stays in the forefront, the more people hear it and more the people hear the consequences of it. I think the consequences are we're seeing the prospects of certain people dim because they've chased the wrong horse that they never wanted to get. And Scott, I'm sure you have a few things to say about this issue. So what do you got?
It's funny that you describe this as something akin to some kind of dating relationship, like, are they cheating on each other? What's going, is there trouble in paradise here?
Mhm.
And, because that's really what we're talking about is, are they going to stay together? It's such a fascinating little
Yep.
drama. It's easy for people to, I admit that I'm attracted, if there's a headline like something like that, I'll click on it and I'll look at, it's interesting. It's like watching a car wreck or something. So are they going to get back? Are they going to stay together? Or are they going to break up? I mean, that's the thing. And like I said, it's easy for us to point fingers and laugh, but I wanted to get it from the horse's mouth. I was able to find a couple of pieces here. This one is from a December 2017 piece in the New Yorker, and it's titled, "Can Evangelicalism Survive Donald Trump and Roy Moore?" This is back when Roy Moore was running for the Senate
Mhm.
in, I think it was Alabama or
Yeah,
somewhere
Alabama.
around
That's
there.
right. Yep.
So in the New Yorker, this Presbyterian clergyman, so religious, Timothy Keller's his name. He writes, quote, "Evangelical used to denote," and I love the phrase. Sorry, I keep interrupting myself. I love the phrase he uses here. "Evangelical used to denote people who claim the high moral ground. Now, in popular usage, the word is nearly synonymous with hypocrite." And so he's calling them out. He's calling them out. He's saying, look what you're doing. You're wrecking our good name, quote unquote, our good name. So that was the religious view of the politics as far as the end of the relationship. I also found a piece in April 2018 issue of The Atlantic. This one was written from the political side. This one's from a George Bush speechwriter by the name of Michael Gerson. No, here's the phrase that I liked. Here's the phrase. "Falwell, Graham, and others are providing religious cover for moral squalor." I thought that was so awesome. Religious cover for moral squalor, winking at trashy behavior and encouraging the unraveling of social constraints. Instead of defending their conviction, they're providing preemptive absolution for their political favorites. Evangelicals have proven highly vulnerable to a message of resentful, declinist populism. And so we can see that there is erosion happening. There is trouble in paradise here from both sides of the relationship, right? We heard the evangelical minister say that he was frustrated that the Republican Party is, like I said, taking away their good name, sapping their honor and virtue out of whatever else they have left. And we heard from the Republican side of it, and they were being resentful that the evangelical leaders were providing them a smokescreen to do this kind of thing for their underhanded manipulations. And so there is issues going both ways. And I think that that just points out that the power of this relationship is back since the 70s and 80s, right? With the moral majority, this marriage has gotten them so far, but we might be seeing the ends of it. I don't know. We'll just have to
Hopefully.
see. But I think it's not righteousness that's holding them together. It's fear. It's fear. And as soon as people become less fearful about religion, which is happening, I mean, it's happening across the world. I think, CE, you were mentioning that religion is on the decline here. And so as religion becomes a less appealing partner, then the political side of it might be, move on to a better, hotter fearmonger. CE, what do you think?
I agree. I think that the outrage du jour seems to be gender-related issues. They've moved on to that to some degree.
Yes.
As Infidel was talking about the cheating, I was imagining that famous meme of the guy and the girl walking away and the guy looking back at the other girl, and that girl would be, negotiating with the left regarding abortion, and the Christian right would be looking at Trump. And I mean, it's just so perfect because that happens time and time and time again. And you're right, Scott. Moral majority, this and so many other issues started with getting Reagan elected, right? Reagan, one of the biggest lying presidents out there, not as big as Trump, but Reagan sold it, whereas nobody believes Trump except his biggest fans. And they started that strategy of, you know what, let's use fear. Let's use replacement theory. Let's use all of these things, codified language, to get the evangelicals to be actually politically active. Because before then, they weren't. Christians would if you look at the polls prior to this strategy, you saw a much more diverse political opinion amongst the highly religious in the United States. But after Reagan, it was spike the needle towards the GOP. And like we have all said here, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. I think whoever said the dog finally caught the car really summarizes this really well. And I think that they're going to really pay the price, which is why you're going to see them continue to pound the table about gender issues, about book banning, about let's shut the government down, and Hunter Biden, anything but abortion.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Kelley?
Yeah, and because it's not only hurting them in the polls, it's hurting them in the pocketbook too.
Yeah.
I just read just yesterday a story that said they were not meeting their goals for presidential cycle fundraising. So they're making a lot less money than they did 4 years ago. So it's really, really hurting them. Again, it doesn't surprise me that they're changing on this policy because it's proven to them that it's just a lose-lose proposition. It makes me wonder if this is the death bell for the GOP. Are they going to get past this? I'd like to find out in the future. Definitely, we should all be keeping an eye on it, because what happens when we come down to a one-party system? That's going to really suck. If you want to continue this conversation, though, it's one I think we should continue. Check out our fan-run Facebook groups and the fan-run Discord server. And if you'd like more of the nonprofits, you can get it right here.